Thank you very much, members of the press. Welcome to today's presser. For the record, my name is Felix Keaton, advocate. I appear alongside Mr. Philip Langat, advocate, and Honorable Senator Okia Omtatah. This is just to update you that today in the morning, we have filed an habeas corpus application before the High Court seeking a myriad of orders that an order of habeas corpus do issue directing the Inspector General of Police and also the Director of Public Prosecutions to immediately produce the bodies of Gideon Kibet, Ronnie Kiblangat, Steve Kavingo Mbisi, Billy Mwangi, Peter Muteti, Bernard Kasavuli, Kelvin Mudhoni at Kibra High Court on a day to be given by the High Court, or alternatively the said person be forthwith released and set at liberty. And in order to put this thing into its perspective, the applicants have been reported missing. And we are a country governed by the rule of law. And under the Constitution, Article 49 of the Constitution is very clear that any arrested person should and must be brought before the court as reasonably as possible and not later than 24 hours. So it is our assertion that if these people have been arrested by the police, then as a country governed by the rule of law, the state had a duty to produce the applicants within 24 hours. But they have not done so. That's why we've gone to court to seek the order of habeas corpus. And in any way, even for argument's sake, if at all the applicants are not within the custody of the police, then still it is the duty of the state through the National Police Service and all the state agency to ensure protection of its citizens. And if I may conceptualize the question of the state, I'll refer you to the writings of one eminent legal scholar called Jean Rousseau, who said that as the people we surrendered our rights to the state so that we can receive protection. So we expect of any government to protect its own citizens. But if the government is to abdicate that responsibility, then still there is what you call the doctrine of inherent self-defense by the people. If at all the citizen cannot protect its own people, then the people, they have a right, inherent right to bear arms for self-defense. And we believe if that in stage were to be arrived at, then it will invite in us to anarchy, which we do not wish. That's why we are saying that as a country governed by the rule of law, the Constitution is very clear that any arrested person should be brought forthwith within 24 hours. So we are demanding of the state, of the respondents, that is the Inspector General of Police and also the Director of Public Prosecutions, that they do produce the bodies of the applicants, whether alive or dead. Thank you.
For the record, I am appearing alongside Felix Keaton for the applicants and also for Honorable Senator Okia Omtatah. Yes, just to reiterate, the issue is that we have had abductions in the recent past, which abductions have hit the limelight. And therefore, we are calling upon all the investigative agencies to swing into action with maximum speed and minimum delay so that the bodies, or rather, the missing persons can be produced, whether dead or alive. As you are aware, both the President and Right Honorable Prime Minister Raila Odinga cautioned all of us that abductions must stop. We should not limp back to the days of forced disappearances, senseless killings, and kidnappings. That is why today, as my colleague has said, we have made an habeas corpus application so that the missing persons can be produced by all the responsible investigative agencies. Thank you very much.
Instead of celebrating the end of year, and as we welcome a new year, we are out here looking for our fellow citizens who have been kidnapped or abducted from their homes. They have been forcefully disappeared. And under international treaties, the treaty against forceful enforced disappearances, which Kenya has signed but yet to ratify, forced disappearance is a crime. So, the crime is happening, and I would like to warn the President that under Article 143, Clause 4, his immunity does not extend to crimes that can be prosecuted under international treaties. And last time he undertook, when he was in Mutembei, he undertook to end abductions. They have continued. The first step towards ending abductions would have been to release those who have been abducted, and then saying that going forward, nobody else will be abducted. If anybody has made a mistake, let them be arrested, let them be prosecuted. And the advocates here and others in the role of advocates in Kenya will ensure that those accused, and the judges will ensure that those accused get justice. In our national anthem, we say that justice be our shield and defender. Today, when you sing the national anthem, it doesn't belong to this country anymore. It belongs to a different country. And so the demand upon the President, as the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, as the Chairman of the Security Council, who under Article 238, security is defined as the protection of the people and their property. Under our Bill of Rights, the personal freedom is a right. So to take people and confine them to using extrajudicial means is inviting the population, as Land Council has said, is inviting the population to disregard the law and take the law into its own hands to survive. Because we are not going to be sitting ducks. Personally, I'm very, very attached because Bob Njagi was kidnapped a few hours after leaving my office. He was kidnapped on a matatu and was detained for very many days. On 24th, Kibet Bull was kidnapped after leaving my office on a matatu to Kikuyu. I will also call upon anybody who witnessed the kidnapping to come forward and tell us what happened, because I gave my personal assistant and my driver to take Mr. Kibet in my vehicle because he said he was not familiar with the town, and since he had called saying he wanted to meet me before he travels to Israel he was supposed to travel to Israel to join the University of Tel Aviv on past Friday. He had wanted to meet me just to make an acquaintance with me and also to talk to me so that he could understand my political philosophy, which he said he wanted to use to inform his cartoons. Because he said he was my strong supporter and I was a supporter of what I do. So the young man was supposed to come at 3 p.m., but he arrived at 11 early. I was in the office. I said, no problem. He said there was no traffic on the road, so he came. And we stayed from 11 to about 4:30. And interestingly, in hindsight, there's a vehicle which came, which had the communication intercepting gadgets on top. It was a Subaru Forester. It parked outside my office across the road. My security people saw it and got concerned. Well, we thought they were trying to monitor my communication. We had no idea it had any connection with Kibet. And Kibet did not express any fear for himself or for anything, because he told me he was staying at his brother's and he'd be leaving on Friday. So, even the reason we took him to town was not because we feared for his safety, no. It's because he told us he did not know town. So we had to take him to archives, and he boarded a metro matatu to Kikuyu. So, but now in hindsight, that Subaru Forester, whose number plates we have confirmed were fake, because the number plates it was bearing belonged to a Toyota station wagon. And so when my drivers took off, taking Kibet to town, the same vehicle also left. And this vehicle sat at that one point from around 11 to 11 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. in idling. The engine was idling throughout because I think they had to power the system on top of the roof. So our only concern was that maybe they were trying to drop on my phones or something. So we left them to their devices. So, but there were 3 men and 1 woman. And those are people I reasonably suspect abducted Kibet, because they must have been trailing him. And that vehicle is clearly a secure vehicle that belongs to the DCI. They have similar vehicles with similar gadgets that they use. And so I'm putting this back to the DCI. Please stop abducting our children. The claim that the president and the state machinery does not know what is happening is not true. Because there's a threat to the identity of the people being abducted. There are people who have been criticizing government. The only person who could be picked by that criticism is government. And so government is abducting these people in an attempt to intimidate them. So to try and pretend that they don't know what is happening is not acceptable. And that's why I reiterate the call I made on 26th, that the Inspector General of Police, the DCI, and even the director of the NIS, if it is true that they don't know what's going on, should resign. If they know what's going on and are doing nothing, they should resign. Because they are incapable to perform the duties for which the Kenyans have appointed them and keep them in office. So I reiterate my call that the Inspector General of Police, the Director General of the DCI, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, and the Director of the NIS should pack their goods and go. Because we cannot allow this form of incompetence in public office. Extreme incompetence that borders on sabotaging the security of the Kenyan people. We cannot allow public officials to keep on sabotaging our security to a point whereby when we walk, we are fearing that the security forces are going to disappear from the streets. Right now, very many young people are hiding. I know very many young people call me and tell me they're hiding, they're fearing for their lives or for their safety. So my call goes back to President William Samoei Kipchirchir Arap Ruto. President Ruto, the buck stops with you. President Ruto, release these young people. President Ruto, these tactics of selling fear to people will not work. And President Ruto, if you don't stop, you'll pay a very heavy price for it, I assure you. You'll pay a very heavy price for this. You won't find anywhere on this globe to hide. The globe has become a small village. You won't get anywhere to hide for violating human rights. So if you want to live in this country peacefully, I tell you today, stop violating the rights of Kenyans. For me, the ball stops with you. And as we wait for the judge to look at our application, which has been made by these 2 prominent lawyers, I also want to say that we have called for demonstrations in town, and that's why I'm dressed in my tracksuit, ready to demonstrate. And so we are going downtown to try and walk on the street and say that please release these innocent young people. If you are offended by what they have done, prosecute them. You have so many laws you can try to use. But for heaven's sake, don't disappear people from the streets. Because you are inviting anarchy. But you don't want to go off the precipice. We want to keep this country united. We want to keep this country one. We want Kenya to progress. And as you have seen, the cry is across the country. It knows no age, it knows no region, it knows no tribe. It's a cry for people that we must have good governance anchored in the rule of law. We are not going to accept a government to govern us outside the law, when the government itself came into power through the law. A river does not flow higher than its source, and Mr. President, if you can't understand that, put it in a cup of tea and drink it. You might understand it. Thank you very much.
Okay, to the IG and also IPOA to give him back the files of the abducted people within 3 days. Do you think this is cosmetic?
I don't know which files they have on the abducted people, but it will be interesting if they have got files on the abducted people and they don't know that those people they don't know who abducted the people. That will be an interesting development. But there's a lot of cosmetic things going on, or release them. Because there's no... Kenya is a country governed by law, and the DPP might just be doing... and these two acolytes, the Inspector General of Police and the Director of Criminal Investigations, and the third agent service, who must be telling who are the people disappearing Kenyans. We have no doubts they are down to doing it. We have no doubts that there are the security forces doing it, so we are not questioning that we don't know where these people are. We know they are being held by the security forces in an ungazetted detention centers, which is even worse than what happened in the past, because in the past, people could be arrested and detained in government facilities, and they would be known to be in detention. This thing of arresting people and disappearing them, we will not accept it. We remember during the ICC trials, a lot of people were disappeared in this country. They have not been traced. And we hope that those tactics are not being revived, because we will not allow it to fly. For this time, the law is on our side, and we shall use the law to resist whatever anarchy the president and his ilk try to throw at us. Thank you.